Friends, 2023 has been a big year. I turned 40, Return of the Jedi turned 40, Ozzy Osbourne turned 75. Who the hell saw that coming?
Shut up!
But there's one that's got me feeling a little old, a little nostalgic, and ultimately thankful. It's the 20th anniversary of a film that did the impossible, completed one of the best trilogies of films of all time, and did so with class, glorious fanfare, and a whole ton of Oscars. Welcome back to Space Castle, where our continuing mission is to explore all things nerdy in the universe. I'm your Captain DT, and in the year 2003, my closest friends and I were all the tender age of 20. And holy hell were we nerds.
Were?
By this point, we had spent virtually every weekend together in high school engaging in the raddest, the best, the nerdiest activities possible. We'd take over our parents' living rooms and garages for all-night LAN parties. We'd stay up all hours of the night watching old TV shows and movies. And instead of engaging in sloppy adolescent sex, underage drinking, and smoking the devil's lettuce, we instead sold our virginal souls directly to Satan himself by playing Dungeons & Dragons on the regular. And hot damn, did we love J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings novels. We'd all read them multiple times. We based our D&D characters on the lore of the series, and we frequently debated such things as the best characters, who the real hero was, and so forth. So, to say that a film series based on the novels got us excited would be an understatement. And by this point, in 2003, two of the films had already come and gone, been burned into our collective psyches, and we generally could not go a full conversation without quoting or citing one of the two films.
PO-TAY-TOES. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
And a week before Christmas in 2003, the final chapter in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings adaptation was released. Me and my closest friends, and about 6 billion more friends around the world, all gathered in theaters to witness what we hoped was going to be Peter Jackson and Philippa Boyan's cinematic hat trick. And they f***ing nailed it. Now, anybody with a passing interest in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films has probably seen the Rankin and Bass version of The Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings animated film by Ralph Bakshi, and the adaptation of Return of the King, which somehow landed back with Rankin Bass and somehow barely even features Aragorn, the titular king. And it doesn't have Legolas or Gimli in it at all. Like at all. Like, it's weird. The late 70s and early 80s were really weird. The point is, Lord of the Rings was considered unfilmable up until the year 2000. Tolkien's novels were generally believed to be too dense, despite being a carefully crafted epic designed for most anyone to pick up and enjoy, to be adapted to film successfully. And in walks Peter Jackson, who flung his massive filmmaking dong onto the table and proved everybody wrong. And he did so by not only doing the impossible, but, well, I'll spare you the crazy history of how these films even got made, the battles that Peter Jackson fought with the Weinsteins at Miramax over trimming 3 proposed movies into a single 2-hour movie, and how Harvey f***ing Weinstein threatened to replace Jackson with Quentin Tarantino when Jackson wouldn't betray his vision of the films. Yeah, that actually happened. Or how New Line Cinema saved the day, actually insisted on the story being told in 3 movies, and put their faith in Peter Jackson to create 3 of the most successful, profitable, and beloved movies of all time. F*** you, Harvey Weinstein. For the millionth time, and for not nearly your most terrible sin against both individuals and humanity at large, you horrible f***ing piece of shit. Return of the King celebrated its official release in Wellington, New Zealand on December 1st, 2003, and worldwide on December 17th, 2003. I was there with my friends for the midnight showing, as we had done for the previous 2 Lord of the Rings films, and we took in all the sights. People dressed in hobbit cloaks, really cute nerd girls with their hair in elven braids, and swaths of pasty, unkempt nerd lads just like us. A full auditorium gathered, settled into our seats, and cheered as the iconic New Line Cinema logo ushered us into our last 3.5-hour-long visit into a world we never wanted to leave. We discovered the cinematic origins of Smeagol, who would tragically succumb to corruption and become the vile Gollum. We welled up when Sam and Frodo appeared deep into their journey beyond the borders of Mordor. We welled up even more when Merry and Pippin had to separate and go on their own journeys to the end of the long road. We groaned when Denethor started munching on those cherry tomatoes. Every scene felt iconic, important, and carried as much gravitas and emotion as our 20-year-old hearts could take. The entire auditorium cheered when Sam emerged with Sting and the light of Arendelle and demanded that Shelob release Frodo. The third act of this film was just a non-stop, glorious hammering of epic moments and catharsis. When the Rohirrim crested the hill above Pelennor Fields and prepared to engage the armies of Sauron, my friend Alex, who I've known since I was 8 years old, he declared loudly to our group, "This is my Christmas!" And after that, we all instinctively either locked elbows or threw our arms around each other as King Theoden led the charge into battle. And there we sat through the rest of the film, arm in arm, crying harder than the goddamn Ninja Turtles after their weird psychic bonfire connection with Splinter in that 1990 film. It was incredible. It was amazing, and it was a film experience that should not have happened, save for the determination, passion, and absolute will of Peter Jackson, his lovely partner in both filmmaking and life, Fran Walsh, and their co-screenplay writer, Philippa Boyens. Their leadership, surrounded by the passion and skill of thousands of film crew members, set designers, artists, prop and costumes craftspeople, and extras who were willing to spend weeks drenched in rain, mud, heavy makeup and prosthetics and armor, and teams of visual and special effects artists who not only created a believable and engrossing version of Tolkien's world, but innovated and changed the realm of movie making forever. And the absolutely stellar cast who brought these wonderful characters to breathing life. An impeccably chosen ensemble led by Elijah Wood, Sean Astin, Viggo Mortensen, Ian McKellen, Sean Bean, John Rhys Davies, Orlando Bloom, Billy Boyd, and Dominic Monaghan. These 9 individuals carried 3 ridiculously epic and beloved movies on their shoulders and cemented their own individual places in cinematic history. The Lord of the Rings: Return of the King was a wild success, earning $1.15 billion at the box office, making it only the second film to ever cross the $1 billion mark, the second, of course, being Titanic. And then all of nerddom waited with bated breath for the 76th Annual Academy Awards to be held that following February, for which Return of the King was almost immediately nominated for a staggering 11 Oscars. And in emotional, tear-streaked fashion, both for the cast and crew present at the ceremony and for all of us watching at home. Hang on, this is gonna fucking blow your mind, so let's take a brief interlude to prepare you mentally.
And the Oscar goes to Grant Major for Lord of the Rings.
The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Fran Walsh, Howard Shore, and Annie Lennox for Into the West from The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens, Peter Jackson for Lord of the Rings.
Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings.
It's a clean sweep. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, Barry M.
It won all 11. It once again matched Titanic for a record with all those awards won at the Oscar ceremony, and it made Bernard Hill, who played King Theoden, the only actor to appear in more than one of the 3 films to ever win 11 Oscars. What a fucking stud. Hail Theoden King indeed. 20 years later, the film remains as part of an inseparable trilogy of films, an absolute benchmark of movies, a staple in pop culture, and an historic achievement on virtually every conceivable level. And on a purely emotional level, I just fucking love it. I am someone who's read the novels repeatedly through the years, though I simply can't keep up with Christopher Lee, who allegedly read the books once a year after their release. And I revisit the trilogy of films frequently, especially around this time of year. I actually consider Lord of the Rings to be Christmas films, if not obviously Christmas adjacent. They're not explicitly Christmas films like Die Hard, but the feelings and nostalgia I have for them are really closely tied to the holiday season.
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not.
I will fucking unplug you.
Fine. Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Welcome to the party, pal. It's crazy to think that Return of the King is now 20 years old. It's taken up space in my brain for literally half my life now. And every time I sit down to watch it, I'm taken back to being a dumb 20-year-old kid watching it for the first time in awe. Cheers to you, Peter Jackson and crew, for creating a film that has been celebrated for 20 years now and will continue to be celebrated for all times. You bow to no one. What do you remember from seeing Return of the King for the first time? Did you hit up a midnight showing with your friends like I did? Did you cry like a baby through the whole second half of the film like I did too? Leave a comment down below and let's gush over the 20-year anniversary of this incredible film. And as always, please feel free to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And if you want to take it a step further, you can join these illustrious folks in the ranks of the Galactonaut crew at patreon.com/spacecastleshow. We just added our newest member, a man both great and illustrious in his own right, Riley. He and the rest of the Galactonaut crew enjoy bonus content, perks on our Discord server, and the occasional surprise from yours truly. Either way, thank you so much for joining me here on Space Castle, where our continuing mission is to explore all things nerdy in the universe. This is your Captain DT, signing off.